Okay, so the basic idea of this is that when you create a zone, you're technically creating a div. When you add a widget, the widget has a wrapper, which is a div. That widget then is broken up into multiple different selectors. All right, so just to kind of explain this again, as you select different templates, each template has different selectors or classes, right? It can be sort of hard, right? It can be sort of hard to know all the different classes a particular user might need. And so we've done our best to sort of cover like the foundation, but there's definitely situations that come up where it's just not there. And that's the one thing I love about this is that the customization is 100% endless, especially with adding selectors and adding CSS. I mean, we can really, really stylize these apps. So again, just kind of know that each template is going to have its own selectors, and these are all made up of classes. And as I mentioned, you can add them. All right, so let's just kind of just again, I just jump into this right away. And I'm a visual learner, so I'm going to do my best here to show you every little thing I can. So again, just to show you the structure of that, what I'm talking about. So as I inspect the page, here's the zone. It's made up of a div. The widget is made up as a div, and then all these right here are made up as individual classes. Now, what we do at Reach is we have two screens, okay? So you kind of have to visualize with me here. But what we do is we throw this layout on one screen. And how you can do that, by the way, now I'm on a laptop, so the laptop just doesn't allow me to do it, but on my desktop it does. When I right click this preview, there's a setting here, which again, you're not seeing, but the setting says open in a new window. When I select that, this layout then automatically gets into a new tab here. I take that tab and I throw it on my other screen. Okay. Then what I do is I get a notepad, and this is where I'm going to keep track of all my CSS, because the reason why I'm going to do that, and this is just a known limitation with the layout editor, is that as I'm stylizing, right, as I'm kind of coming in here and I'm selecting these different classes, I'm not seeing the background, right? I'm not seeing the other widgets around. I'm kind of blindsided. And if you're a designer, right, you want to make sure that your colors are matching with everything else, nothing is sort of fighting or dominating. And so it always helps to see the background, especially when you're stylizing it. So what we do then is we really do a lot of our CSS with the Notepad. We'll keep all of our documentation in here, and then again, on that other screen, we're seeing it live, and then we'll kind of come in here, we'll add our selectors, we'll add our changes, and just kind of make sure things are good. So that's the tip and trick right there. But again, on the laptop, I'll be a little bit limited, but I can still do this. Where CSS, okay? So there's a lot of things you can do with CSS, and we're going to have a great time. We're going to nerd out about it, and I love this part of the the system here. If you're a little, maybe you haven't done CSS in a while. I know sometimes for myself when it's been a little, been a little bit, I'm like, oh man, wait, how do I do a background gradient again? So I always kind of feel dumb asking myself that. But here at Reach, we use W3 Schools. For me, it's worked out great. I'm sure there's a million other sites that you can use, and there's a lot of ways you can find stuff. But for us, we're really familiar with W3 Schools, and it's been really great for us. And when I say add selectors and stuff like that, I mean, you can even go from, adding. So an example would be, here's one we did for a client where they wanted, this is using a list widget. So it's using the data is coming from our data list application, and they wanted each row to be different. So again, this is technical, but I started using the nth child. And so I was adding selectors and adding the nth child and saying, okay, these first 3 rows are going to be this color. These rows are going to be that color and this, that. And I just kept adding those selectors over and over and over. And it was really cool because I was able to kind of create something like this. Also, too, where we use, again, CSS is a lot of schedule information. We might, float the left, float right. Here's kind of another example. This one was a little custom. It may not look like it, by the way, but the way they wanted this structured, again, I was using float left, sorry. I was using position relative. I'm just really lining it up, and it's just so great because every little data that kind of hits the screen ends up being its own class, and so we can really just grab those and just like I said, we can just go to town on stylizing, which makes it fun and kind of nerd out on. So, all right, so let's go ahead and just again, I'm just going to just start going at this and kind of deep dive in. So, all right. So, for an example, let's just say we want to stylize this widget. Now, I want to use some CSS though. And as I said, any designer, it does help to sort of see the layout and stuff like that and just kind of see things that are happening, you kind of like real time. So what I'm going to do, because I'm on my laptop, as I mentioned, I don't have that other screen. I'm just going to select here and I'm just going to hit inspect. All right. And again, you can see maybe why two screens is kind of nice because I would, unhook this, right? Right now it's attached to my side. So I can come in here and I can undock it, which I believe is this one, right? And I would put this on my other screen. So again, the little things like that, make a big difference. Okay, so let's just say for an example, I just want to know what the selector is. I'm just going to keep this simple real quick. So as I select it, it's nice because it does highlight it. So it tells me exactly right down here. And I can just come in here. This isn't going to be pretty, so I'm not going to get brownie points here. So font size, again, I'm just going to come in here and I'm just using some CSS. Font, I want the weight. Font weight, excuse me. Okay, bold. All right, so again, just kind of keeping it simple and then we'll kind of dig into this even more. Let's just say this is what I want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this and bam. Okay, I know that was a little disformatted there, so I might just kind of fix this a little bit. All right. And I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to keep going, okay? So for an example, let's just say I don't want the background. Now, what I've found is that when I select what I want, so if I select here and I inspect it, it's just going to bring me right to the class, which I appreciate. I don't really want to go on a hunt here trying to find the background and stuff like that. Obviously, you can kind of read the classes and kind of guide your way up, but you know what? I don't really have time for that. All right, so let's change the background color of this zone. Right now, it's set to black, so I believe it's the wrapper. I might have missed it. Here we go. All right, so it's this one. But I'm like, oh man, my CSS has been so long. I just want a, gradient color. So just to kind of utilize the W3 school, I'm just going to type in, let's see here, gradient background. And I'll do CSS, sorry. CSS gradient. Oh my gosh, it's because you guys are watching me. Background. All right, so come into here. All right, I'm just going to grab the first one, but as you can see, if I ever scroll down, right, it's telling me all these different options I have, and I can change out the hex color and colors, but I'm just going to do this for now just to keep the tutorial simple. So I'm going to select that, and again, I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to paste it in here. All right, so if you know anything about CSS, of course, right, when you have things that are the same, you need to sort of make one dominant over the other. So I'm just going to select that. So again, what am I going to do? Right, I'm gonna, I like that, looks great, looks awesome. Copy that. Okay. All right, and again, I'm just gonna keep doing this, right? I don't like the drop shadow on this. Again, I'm just finding the class. And so eventually you're gonna have a notepad, right? That's gonna have a lot to this. And when I'm done, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna X out of here, I'm gonna X out, and again, I'm gonna click in here, I'm gonna go back to style, and then here we go. We got my cheat sheet. So title text, all right. Again, we tried to do our best labeling them too. So again, it's not always great, but you're essentially looking right here. Now, this widget part right here, essentially, right, you can't have two divs, right? I just told you that when you create a widget, it's a div, right? Well, you can't have a div that's named the same thing. They always have to be different. Classes, of course, you can share amongst. And so the way we had to structure this is that basically every widget that you have gets its own sort of generic ID. That way the div is always different. So you could have multiple news stories, but they can all be different based on, again, sort of keeping this in there because each widget has its own sort of div ID. All right, so here it is. I'm going to select in here. I'm going to grab my notepad and title text right here. I guess it's kind of lame, but the only thing I did for this one was this too. And I'm just going to switch it out. All right, and then I got my background. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to, essentially what I'm really just going to do is come in here. I can delete this, bam. So under this advanced settings where you're going to put all your CSS. And what we're going to do is we're just going to preview this real quick and then we'll kind of take it to the next level here. All right, so here it is. Obviously, you saw how easy that was to kind of, right, switch out that background and stuff. So again, having that other screen does help, right? Because I mean, this is a lot quicker as you're adding the classes in here. You can kind of see it. Okay, so let's talk about. I need to add in a new class. I'm just going to show you this. This is a common sort of trick, or I should say, request from clients. But some people they like to change the name. And so, again, if you are like, oh, I know how I would do that, I know what class I need, that's great. Otherwise, if you don't, by the way, you can always just ask us too, and we can help you. But I just want to show you how to add that new selector. So what I want to do, you guys, is I want to remove sports. I'm going to remove that name, and I want to put a different name. And so first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the class for that. So what I've done is I've selected the class I need. I've hit the plus sign here. And this is where we're going to bring in a little bit of an after, if you're kind of familiar with that. So after. All right, so I'm just going to kind of, oops, just do some CSS here. All right, so after. All right, so content, and I'll just do my name. I know, lame. All right, and so as I'm doing this, you guys are going to see stuff start to show, right? Invisible, it's going to be hidden. I'm kind of a talker when I do my CSS. And let's do font color. Let's do something crazy. Yellow, I say. I might have to do important. Okay, it's all right. Oops. What did I do wrong there? Oops. All right, font size. It's because you guys are watching me. All right. And I might have to do important just because I'm overriding the original class there. That's kind of why. So. And then again, I might have to use some padding, some margin, maybe a little bit of float left, but you kind of get the point, right? Okay, so that just disappeared on me, but essentially I would have copied that, right, in my notepad right here. And I'm just going to kind of do this. I'd have no problem redoing that with you guys. Okay, and so what we needed to add, obviously, is this after. All right, so let's go ahead and go back into the system here. So we're going to go back into style. All right, so I got my little cheat sheet here. So we know title text, right? So that is right up here, title text. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of this. Okay, I'm going to hit the plus sign. It's adding what's selector. Okay, and I'm going to add the after here. And then I'm just going to put maybe, give it a good name, like new title text. Okay, and so as I scroll down, right, new title text. And then here it was content, Michelle, and it was visibility. Let's see here, visible. Let's see here, I had color yellow, and I had to use important because I needed to override that original class. Font size, let's just do 40, and again, I might have to use important on that. All right, and then the only thing I need to do is put this again. This is just knowing if you're like, yep, Michelle, I'm following you. Then you know exactly what I'm kind of doing here. Oops, hidden. There we go. Okay, so we're going to preview it and we will see it. All right, so as you can see, there it is, right? So that's just one example, right? One example where you can use some CSS, obviously, some more there. So that's on the app level. So let's talk about the zone level. So what if I wanted to put maybe like a stroke around here or a drop shadow, and any of the widgets in this zone is obviously going to have this stroke or this drop shadow. So where do I go to apply CSS for that? So what you'll do is you hit X out of here. Again, you're going to click into the settings now because every zone has sort of a settings. Again, I can do the background here, white if I want, but the style tab is really where I want to go. And this is where you can come in and do, so I'm just going to do a border. It's just simple. So let's see here, width, and then we'll do solid. So when I go to preview this, you're going to see a white border now around the zone. All right, and so as you can see, there's that sort of border. And again, I could do a drop shadow. I could do dotted lines. I mean, there's a lot of things you can essentially do with CSS, and especially just to make your apps or whatever is displaying really pop and look good. So yeah, that's kind of like a run through of how you can take this to another level and adding selectors and stuff like that. If you have any questions, obviously let me know, but hopefully, you're watching this and you're sort of gaining some more knowledge and just sort of learning some, like I said, tips and tricks on how to stylize these apps even more. So any questions you may have, definitely let me know. Give us a call, email us. Otherwise, enjoy